what happens to consciousness when you become stressed?
It's like it's not there.
No, you've just said that you never have the experience of not being aware. So don't now say consciousness is not there when you are stressed. If consciousness was not there when you were stressed, you would not be aware that you were stressed. Yes? If you know that you're stressed,
Yes.
you are aware of being stressed.
Yes.
So awareness must be there. When you're stressed, when you're not stressed, awareness is there. It's true that when you get stressed, your stressful feelings fill up awareness, or color awareness,
exact,
so that you lose yourself in the feelings of stress.
Yes, and
but even then, so the intensity of the feelings of stress tend to color awareness to such an extent that they seem to obscure it. Yes. Yeah, that the movie gets so frightening that you forget you're seeing a screen. You think it's a real murder story. Yeah. So the stress, the feelings of stress become so colorful and loud that they seem to obscure the experience of being aware. Yeah. But they don't get rid of the experience of being aware. They just obscure it. When the movie gets terrifying, the movie doesn't replace the screen, it just seems to obscure it. Yeah. But even during the intensity of your stressful feelings, the experience of being aware is present. You are being aware of your stress. Yes? You look doubtful. You look doubtful.
Well, I try to remember my 2 last weeks, and I can see that at some points I become aware of the stress, and then awareness is less obscured.
Exactly. So awareness, that's perfect. Awareness is sometimes seems to be obscured, and it sometimes seems not to be obscured. But in both cases, it is always present. Just like during the terrifying movies, the screen seems to be obscured, and during the pleasant movies, it is obviously there. But in both cases, it is equally present. Yes? For instance, is awareness present now?
Yes.
Yes, because our conversation is quite gentle. It has no obscuring power. It is neither so pleasant nor so unpleasant as to obscure the screen of awareness upon which it is playing. Yeah? But if experience was either to become so intensely pleasurable or so intensely unpleasurable, it would begin to, or it might begin to obscure the self-aware screen of awareness on which it is playing. Yeah. But now just imagine, very slowly, imagine now that our conversation was to get more intense and more stressful. Yeah. And at one point that you feel that you would lose touch with the experience of being aware due to the intensity of the conversation or the intensity of the feelings provoked by the conversation. Yes. But even then, the actual experience of being aware doesn't disappear. It is just colored by your feelings. Are you with me?
Yes. I'm with you, and at the same time, I think to some other people that I evaluate like not being aware.
Well, don't worry about the other people.
Okay.
Stay with your experience of yourself, because if you discover for yourself that the experience of being aware is the foundation of all experience, however pleasant or unpleasant that experience may be. Just like the screen is the foundation of the movie, however, irrespective of the content of the movie. If you discover that the experience of being aware remains in the same condition throughout all experience. Yes, experience plays upon it and colors it, but when the experience goes, when the coloring ceases, the experience of being aware remains always in the same pristine condition. If you discover that, you discover the greatest thing that anyone can discover. You discover that what you essentially are is this inherently fulfilled, imperturbably peaceful presence of awareness, this undisturbable presence of awareness. Even in our deepest depressions or anxieties or fears, the presence of awareness is shining as brightly as it is in our most pleasant or happy moments. Just like the screen shines equally brightest in the darkest movies as it does in our comedies. And you only think that the presence of awareness has either disappeared altogether or has been conditioned by experience because of the exclusive focus of attention on your feelings, in this case the feelings of stress. But right in the midst of the stress itself, the experience of being aware remains present throughout. It's as easy to notice the presence of awareness in the midst of stress as it is to notice the screen during a horror movie. It's just, oh yes, there it is. It's equally available. Have you ever watched anything on TV that veiled the screen? Could you imagine a movie that could really veil your screen? What kind of a movie would that be? It doesn't make sense. Well, awareness is like that. The experience of being aware is present. It is to experience what a self-aware screen is to a movie. It is always present, always shining equally brightly. It seems to be missing, not because it is missing, but simply because we turn away from it, because we ignore it, because we turn in the direction of the object. When the earth, that part of the earth that is turned away from the sun, is in darkness, and the people on that side of the earth says the sun has set. No, the sun has not set. The sun is always in the same place. It is just that part of the earth that has turned its back on the sun. It is the earth that has turned away from the sun and thinks that the sun has turned away from it. The sun never turns away from the earth. Consciousness never turns away from us, from any experience. It is we in this case means the finite mind. It is the finite mind that looks towards the object, gets absorbed in the object and says, therefore consciousness is missing. No, consciousness is not missing. You are just looking in the wrong direction. Turn round. Turn round. In other words, for instance, ask yourself, what is it that is aware of my stress? Right there. You will say, oh yes, I am aware of my stress. I, awareness, am present. This stress is playing on me. It is a coloring of my being. But it doesn't essentially change my being. My essential uncolored being remains exactly the same when the stress has passed. The stress is just a coloring, just a temporary coloring of your essential uncolored or unconditioned being. And first of all, discover this in peaceful circumstances such as this. And then when you go back to your life, when circumstances get a bit more demanding, you can test this out. And then you can test it out in your most stressful moments. And you'll find that it's true. Don't trust me on it. Test it yourself. See if the presence of awareness really ever lets you down. See if it is ever not totally present, totally peaceful, totally fulfilled, totally open, totally without resistance. We've come a long way since your question, am I the doer? But I think this was the deeper aspect of your question about being the doer. If you take care of this question about the ever-present and imperturbable nature of consciousness, that will take care of the question about being the doer. In other words, we discover what we are not by discovering first what we are. Ramana Maharshi didn't say, recognize that you are not the doer, and as a result, see who you are. He said, see who you are, and realize as a result that you are not the doer. Because if you realize you're not the doer, you might still be the thinker, the feeler, the hearer, the taster. But if we realize who we are, then it takes care of all those possible identifications. In his language, the way he expressed this was, in order to see that it is not a snake, you have to see the rope. It's not enough to know it is not a snake. Okay, it's not a snake, but it might be a lizard. It's not enough to know I am not the doer. We have to know what I am. It's not enough to know it is not a snake. We have to see the rope. Once we have seen the rope, that takes care of all other possibilities. Snakes, lizards, worms, slugs, everything.